Hi everyone, it's me. So recently I asked you guys if you had any questions to ask me, a foreigner living in the UK, and wow, you guys had tons. So today I'm going to go through those questions. Some of them are personal to me, some of them are more general as an expat or a foreigner living in the UK. So I hope you guys like this video and thank you so much for sending through so many really great questions. So I have them written down. Yes, my phone case is a dog getting hit by a frisbee. It's a long story. So I have written down a bunch of your questions and we are gonna go through them. So without further ado, let's go. Do you feel at home in the UK? Yes, not always. There's certainly situations where I have become aware of me being a foreigner, but for the most part, yes, I do feel very much at home here, which I honestly didn't think was possible, but here we are. Tips for wanting to move to Europe. Visas. Visas. For most of us, you need to have a legal reason and legal approval to live and work in that particular country, and that can be very difficult. So if you want to move anywhere, the first step should always be to find whether you can apply and be eligible for a visa. Is job hunting hard for a foreigner? Yes, it is. Unless you are applying for a job in the UK that has a shortage of workers, for the most part, it is harder to be hired as a foreigner than a British person. Naturally, I mean, it makes sense from the company's standpoint. Why would they want to hire somebody that may go home in a few years when they could hire a British person who's going to be around all the time? So it does make it more difficult, but it is not impossible. Did you find it hard making friends? I received this question so many times, and yes, it is hard. I find making friends as an adult is hard no matter what country you are in, but it is certainly difficult as a foreigner. Especially for me now, I no longer work in an office. I work from home. So to meet people, nobody's gonna find me sitting here in my kitchen. I need to actually put myself out there and go out and actively try to make friends. So that can be quite difficult. But one of my goals actually, so this last year, it's kind of been a write-off. You're not really supposed to socialize anyway, but my goal for the next coming year is to make a real effort to meet more people and make more friends. I find it very difficult and it's something that you really have to put effort into. It's not just gonna happen organically necessarily, especially for me where I work at home. You know, how am I supposed to meet people? There's nobody here. Can you see yourself living in the UK permanently? Possibly. I have certainly built a life here in the UK over the last almost 6 years, so I can certainly see myself continuing that. At this stage in my visa journey, I am not just allowed to stay just because I want to. My visa does have an expiry date, so that is something that I will legally have to sort out when the time comes. But will I stay longer? I hope so. You know, kind of just seeing how it goes. Anything is possible. Are you doing YouTube as a full-time job? No. No. Definitely not. I still have a full-time job. Like I mentioned, I work from home. So I do my 9 to 5 job. Thankfully, the hours are fairly flexible so I can fit in like filming and stuff because I do YouTube, bonus content, and bonus stuff on Patreon. And I also live stream on Twitch twice a week. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but I do not do Adventures in Naps as a career. This is still a hobby, just a very time-consuming hobby. What's one thing you miss that's not sold in UK supermarkets? I'll tell you right now, all dressed chips. If you ever find yourself in Canada, sometimes you can get them in America, but they're a bit harder to find. If you ever find yourself in Canada, buy yourself a bag of all dressed chips. You will not be disappointed. Is there anything that even after all these years, you still haven't gotten used to in the UK? Pantomimes. You guys can explain the charm and the appeal of pantomimes for as long as you shall live. I will never understand. I just don't. As a Canadian living in the UK, have you continued the tradition of Thanksgiving? No. Every year I forget when Thanksgiving is. I'm always very excited about Halloween. So Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. I always forget it because I'm looking forward to Halloween. I'm getting excited about spooky movies. And then I'm usually talking to my mom and she's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Thanksgiving dinner this weekend. And I'm like, oh, right. I forgot. Now, Thanksgiving is really about having a massive Thanksgiving dinner, which I do not feel capable of achieving, but maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll try. What are the top 3 things from Canada that you wished the UK had? Top 3 things. Well, top 3 things for the home: driveways, more driveways. I want more homes to have driveways. I want air conditioning and I want built-in closets. Is that too much to ask? Probably. What's the most overrated thing about life in the UK? Weatherspoons. I'd rather die. How long did it take to adjust to prices in pounds instead of Canadian dollars? At first, I think it's kind of like a natural thing. At first, I was converting everything I saw into Canadian dollars in my head, and it's really pointless. There is just no point. Don't bother. Just don't. Especially once you start earning pounds, you know, you're getting paid in pounds, you're buying stuff in pounds. There's really no point in trying to convert it. Just let that go. Let that urge go. What's the worst thing about us Brits? Ooh, do you really want to know? What's the worst thing about us Brits? Some British people I find can be very condescending. Typically some older generations can be quite condescending to me, and they love to tell me that the British way is the right way, that British people are right about everything, British pronunciation is the right way to say things, and all that fun stuff. It's just very condescending, and I really am not down for it, but thank you anyway. What shocked you the most, good or bad, when you first moved to the UK? Well, I mentioned in some previous videos, the first time that I moved to England was in the wintertime. Wow, what an experience. I was shocked how cold winter is. Now I'm in the southeast of England. I am like south, right? Very southern. And yet I was shocked how cold and damp the winters are here. As a Canadian, I thought, I've seen -14, you know, I'm gonna be fine. But it is a very different type of cold here in England, and it was very surprising. What would you have done differently when you moved to the UK? Honestly, probably nothing. I would probably do nothing different. It is what it is. Everything is a learning experience, and all the stuff that happened to me, that I did, that I went through, blah, 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 has gotten me to where I am now. So there's really nothing different that I would do. It's all good. Yorkshire tea or air conditioning? Choose one. It's gotta be air conditioning. Really no battle at all. I'm so sorry. What's the best thing about transportation in England versus Canada? Transportation in England versus Canada. In England, you don't have to have a car. I've actually known so many people that either don't have a driver's license or don't have a car. The fact that you can get around somewhat easily with public transportation, even in, you know, I'm not in London. London is incredible for public transport. Oh my goodness. But even for someone like me who is not in London, I can still pretty much get around on buses or trains. The trains here are wonderful. The fact that I can get on a train for a couple of minutes and I can go to the next town. Like, that is really awesome. And that's absolutely not something that I could do in Canada or Ontario, where I'm from. Ontario is just, it's too big. It's too big. You have to drive to the train station before even getting on the train. So the public transportation here in the UK as a whole, wonderful. It's not perfect, but it is truly special. Where does the let's go fist pump come from? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It was something that I started doing at the very beginning, and then now it's just there. I can't stop. Do people often think you're an American and not a Canadian going by your accent? Let me just say this. I have never been asked if I'm Canadian. Ever. Not once. Not a single time. Not one time. Not one instance. Not one situation. I have never been asked if I am Canadian. Is there something you feel particularly proud of after living in Kent for many years? There is something that feels quite empowering about, like, even just sort of simple situations. Like, recently I caught the train to a town that I really like, and I met up with a friend for coffee from one of my favorite cafes, and it just, it feels so natural, and the fact that I can navigate myself and I feel very confident and comfortable with taking the train to different towns and knowing my favorite coffee shop in that town. And yeah, that sort of, I know it's really simple and really basic, but it does feel really empowering, and it does make me feel proud that I have come to this point in my life when I think to where I started when I first moved to England, and I was absolutely petrified. Are there things about living in the UK that make you especially feel like a foreigner? Recently I actually went to a wedding, and naturally, the wedding party is there, and the couple have all their childhood friends and their college friends or university friends, and everybody's like, wow, we've been friends for 10 years, and it was very, very sweet and very special. And it kind of made me sad, because when you move abroad, you cut a lot of those ties. I don't live in the same country as my childhood friends, as my high school friends, or my college friends. I have left that behind, for better or for worse. So there's moments like that where you see people, perhaps they've lived in that town their whole life, and they have a really strong friendship group or support group, like that sort of thing. And I don't have that. Maybe I will someday, but I don't have those types of relationships and ties here. What's it like to meet other Canadians in the UK? When I first moved to England, I actually made quite a lot of friends with Canadians. It was really helpful that we all knew what it was like, right? You don't really know what this is like until you've done it. So to have other Canadians sort of in the same boat was really helpful, that we could kind of commiserate together. We understood what each other was going through, was really helpful. But all of them have gone back to Canada. And I'm just like, all right, I guess it's just me now. What's the one thing you've experienced that if someone had told you before moving over here, you would not have believed? That's a good question. Have you ever been walking down the street and all of a sudden you see a stag do or a hen do, really either of them? I did not understand here's the thing. I don't know how to describe hen do's and stag do's here in the UK. They are out of this world. The stuff that people get up to is truly surprising. And if someone had explained that to me before moving here, I probably wouldn't believe it. American bars or British pubs? Discuss. My personal favorite is a British pub. I like the cozy atmosphere. I like when things are a bit quiet. American bars. I mean, if you're gonna go dancing, sure, but to actually hang out with friends, I find it so hard because it's so loud and you're like screaming at people to talk to people. I'm just like not really a fan. I'd much rather be in a quiet, cozy, historical British pub with a beautiful big fire, and maybe somebody's got a dog and there's like brown leather seats. I would prefer that. Now, another question I got tons of, basically around the idea of why the UK? Why would you ever come here? Why move here? All that kind of stuff. My partner is English and my partner is from Kent. So that is the reason why I'm in Kent, and the reason that I am in England is because my partner is English. Same for, I get so many comments on my videos like, oh, you should move up north, you should move to my county, you should move here. I wouldn't say that it would never happen, but it is unlikely. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard to move cross country. It's hard to even move to a new town. So it's probably unlikely, but thank you for asking anyway. Do you plan on eventually applying for UK citizenship? Currently, I am not eligible for citizenship, and to be honest, I have not thought about it. It's always just been like so far in the future. But again, I wouldn't say no. You know, maybe in the future, maybe if Adventures in Apps gets popular, you know, I can kind of make some money to go towards citizenship, but it's so much money. So I don't know. Would you move back to Canada or live elsewhere in the world? Again, I'm never gonna say no. I want to be open to new experiences, and if something came up and it was like, hey, do you want to do this? I would certainly be open to the idea. I am very lucky that Canada is there waiting for me. You know, I could go back home at any point if I ever wanted to or needed to. I know that there is home back there if I need it. In terms of living elsewhere, a lot of people have also asked me like, why don't you move to this country? Why don't you move to my country? You should move to this country. And again, it comes down to visas. I don't know if people really think about that, but I can't just move and work in a country. I am not allowed freedom of movement, which is a whole separate topic. It's a truly wonderful thing if you can take advantage of that, but I am not allowed to. So if I were going to move anywhere really, other than Canada, I need a visa. I need approval to be in that country and to work in that country. And visas are tough. They are not just handed out, unfortunately. So it would come down to whether I'm allowed to or not. What do you really think of the Queen and the royal family? I'll be honest, as a kid, I always thought the Queen looked exactly like my grandma. Like honestly, so close to what my grandma looks like, I honestly thought I had two grandmas. Now, if we want to get a little bit spicy, I think the royal family is extremely outdated. However, they certainly bring in tourism, because I'll tell you, before I moved to England, I had traveled to the UK before that, and I absolutely went to Buckingham Palace, and I took pictures outside the palace like a tourist. 100%, definitely. So royal family, I think, is extremely outdated, but they do certainly bring in tourists. So those have been your questions to ask a foreigner living in the UK. This is too close to my chair. Thank you guys so much for your questions, and I hope you like this video. If you can like, subscribe, leave a comment, that always truly helps out my channel. But I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Did I already say that? I'm saying it again. As a little old Canadian living in England, I never expected so many people to be so supportive and curious and interested in my journey here in the UK. So honestly, thank you guys so much for joining me and for watching and for following my channel over the years. The whole thing has just been really special. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!